Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Flavor of the Week, brought to you by Banditos, fresh, made daily. In Flavor of the Week, Kyle sits down with one of our local priests over 4 different episodes to sample variations of a favorite food or drink while they discuss the ins and outs of life as a priest.
This is Kyle Hyman. I'm here with Monsignor Bob Schulte for Flavor of the Week, Part 3, as we try some ice cream and learn a little bit about his priesthood. So far, you've been pretty happy with the things. I think things might get a little different here. The first 2 were regular ice cream. They were both delicious. You gave the first one, the salted caramel, a 10, and then the chocolate, kind of Rocky Road kind of a thing, was a 9, I think you said.
Right.
At least a 9.
Yeah.
Now we've got a gelato. It's like a pistachio gelato. Mm-hmm. So good. I don't really know what pistachio tastes like.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. It's got a very distinct taste. Describe.
It doesn't taste like the nuts, though.
Oh, really? Oh,
do you think?
No, I'm not real familiar with the nuts. I guess most of the pistachio I've ever had has been ice cream.
How do you feel about gelato in general?
Oh, I like gelato. It's a whole different taste. The first gelato I ever had was I was in Rome, several years ago, 20 years ago anyway. And it was just kind of on the street corner, you see this little gelato. I said, we could try this out. And I said, oh, wow, this is really kind of neat. This whole different kind of taste from ice cream. It's just a really distinctive. I like it. I like gelato once in a while.
Are you a connoisseur of ice cream? You got a distinguished palate.
I'm a consumer.
All right.
It's one of my favorite snacks, I guess, is ice cream. I really like ice cream.
Oh, that's very different than what we just had. Yeah.
That's good. Oh, yeah.
Do you ever get pistachio ice cream?
Once in a while.
Do you ever get gelato?
No.
Oh.
This is the first time I ever had pistachio gelato.
Oh.
Now, I don't get gelato too much. I guess this is creamier than most of the gelatos I'm familiar with. Yeah, it's kind of tastes.
It's got the nuts in it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You like nuts, I guess.
I didn't. I was just kind of randomly picking some that I thought would be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the rocks. Yeah.
Right.
So last time we were talking about building the parish of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton in Fort Wayne. 2.5 years, did you say?
Yeah, 2.5 years from when the parish, or 2 years, 9 months from the time we started meeting officially as a parish, January 1st of 1988. And we moved into the church in September of 1990. So about 2 years, 9 months. That was pretty quick because we had to organize committees. We had to get a building committee. We had to get a fundraising committee. We had to raise funds and then hire an architect and get the building underway. It took about a year to build and to see that. But it was an exciting time. It was good.
Was it stressful?
It's funny. There was one time I had a man going through my RCA. The RCA we met in the library of Haverhill School because we didn't really have a place to meet. And we had about 6 or 7 people in the RCA. One of them was
6 or 7 people going through our RCA and you didn't even have a church.
Yeah, right.
That's
exactly.
pretty good.
Yeah. And one of them was a cardiologist. And I told him one time, I said, I'm having these palpitations, these really my rapid heartbeat, So he saw me and he put me on a monitor and they did some tests. And he said, I think it's just, got to cut out. Don't drink any coffee with caffeine.
Oh, wow.
Chocolate, like an ice cream, like we had last time. And then, and you don't smoke. Well, I wasn't smoking at the time. And he said, you just got too much excitement in your life. You don't need any more, anything else to jack your heart up.
Yeah.
And so I pretty much stayed away from it from then. And I haven't had any more trouble. That was the only thing I've ever had. I know what they call that stress with the building, but I mean, there was a lot going on in my life at that point, trying to, juggle all that stuff. But it was an exciting time. And the parish was growing too. We started out, I think, with like 300 households or something like that. And it really grew as we built the church. We got the church built and then it grew. We built a rectory eventually. And then we acquired some more land. Mm-hmm. We only had about 10 acres to start out with, and we ended up 23 acres, I think, when we got done. And then built the rectory, and then after that we had to build onto the church, because we didn't have enough classroom space, and so we had to build classrooms, and our students were going to St. Joseph's School, so they were being bused over there, and St. Joseph was running out of room, and so we built some classrooms on our site that could also be used for religious ed. We had a huge religious ed program. I mean, like 400 or 500 kids in religious ed. It was bigger than the number of kids in Catholic school,
Sure.
So we built some classrooms. We moved kindergarten, first, second grade. I think it was just those 3 grades over to our campus. So it was called St. Elizabeth Ann Seton School, and it was a joint school. So that's the way we kind of accommodated the growth of the kids and everything. So, and allow them to have the Catholic education available for those kids that wanted it. Then it was about that time. It was about the year 2000, and that's when I was asked by Bishop Darcy to start as the role of Vicar General of the diocese and to become rector of the cathedral downtown. So I moved in. I did take a sabbatical in '99, which was kind of fortuitous. It was just a time of my life when I didn't have any responsibilities. My mother had died, and an aunt that I was taking care of pretty regularly had died, and so it was a time when I could kind of get away for 3 months. And so I took a sabbatical to the Holy Land, which was really neat. Went to Greece and Israel and Egypt and Jordan and just spent a lot of time there, and went to like 65 sites in the Holy Land. So it was just really great to get a sense, and living in the Holy Land, living right outside of Jerusalem. And so that was a great thing. I came back, and the bishop, I just got back in December, and the bishop I think in February says, I want to talk to you. And he wanted me to move down to the cathedral. So it was good. And I think the sabbatical, the thing about that, being in Israel, you never preach the word of God the same. I mean, when you read the Gospels and you read Scripture, it just takes on a whole new meaning when you've been there and you kind of know the culture and you kind of know the Mideast mindset in a sense, a little different than ours. And so that was good. And then I went down to the cathedral. And the cathedral is an interesting parish. It's different than the neighborhood parish, certainly different than St. Jude here or even St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, which was a suburban parish. At the cathedral, most of our parishioners don't live close to the cathedral at all. And 20% of our parishioners lived outside of Allen County even. So they came in from outside of Allen County to come to church. Some of them had been there like 2 or 3 generations, and the cathedral was their home. So it was really neat to kind of get into that whole environment where, and the liturgy is a little bit more traditional, formal, more organ music and things like that than it would be in a parish sitting. And so it was a whole different experience, and I really enjoy that. And again, I love the liturgy, getting the people together and working at that. In addition to being pastor, I was also Vicar General of the diocese, which means I'm Vicar for General Affairs of the diocese. Vicar meaning assistant to the bishop. So in the corporation model, bishop is the president of the corporation. I was the vice president. And then the chief financial officer, Joe Ryan, was the secretary treasurer of the corporation. So that was kind of how if you look at an organizational model. So a lot of, I was kind of the liaison between priests and bishops sometimes. Sometimes a lot of priests would go directly to the bishop. That's fine too. But sometimes they'd ask me to ask the bishop about something. Many times people in the parishes would have questions, or priests would have canonical questions that they would ask me about things. Oftentimes I would consult with one of our canon lawyers in the diocese. I think anytime anybody had a problem in their parish and they felt like the pastor wasn't responsive, they would call my office. And so we had a lot of different calls, a lot of different situations. I said, it's always... in fact, Mary, my secretary, I would always say, well, I said, there's another one. They're trying to stump the Vicar General of the diocese. I asked you this question. This is totally off, something totally you never had before, trying to figure this out. So it was a challenging job, and it was very interesting, and it called for a lot of creativity, which was good. I enjoyed that.
Sure.
And I was privileged to work with Bishop Darcy for 10 years and then Bishop Rhodes for 8 years. And it's funny because when Bishop Rhodes came, I figured, okay, well, you get a new bishop here, within a year, he'll figure things out and he'll get another priest in here and I'll be on my way. Well, he never said anything about it. So
did you want that to happen?
After I'd been in 17 years, I said to the bishop, I said, well, I don't really want to spend the rest of my active priesthood in this position. I became a priest to be a pastor of a parish.
Yeah.
And I really want to get back into pastoral work with Parish. And so, he acquiesced to my wish. And so I was almost 18 years when I was in the Vicar General, which is a long time in that position.
Yeah.
Nationwide, even most Vicars General don't stay in quite that long.
Because were you doing things like marriage prep and other things that a typical pastor would do?
Sure, for the cathedral. Yeah, we do. Cathedral, we had 20, 25 weddings a year, so it was pretty good clip of things there. I didn't do a lot of baptismal prep. I had a great staff at the cathedral, which enables me to do things really well. And I always had a couple priests with me too as well.
Yeah.
So we had, that really helped. And so it was just a matter of kind of supervising things and just making sure everybody was on the right page and together, having staff meetings and things like that to make sure we're all together on what we're doing. But I had a great staff that did a great job in visiting the homebound and taking communion to the homebound, doing some of those other things that I really couldn't do because of just time factors.
Mm-hmm. So you didn't see going from vicar general to parish priest as being demoted or some kind of punishment, but rather getting back to what you really got into the priesthood for in the first place.
Exactly correct.
Parish work.
Exactly correct.
Yeah.
I didn't go kicking and screaming. That's for sure. No, that's for sure.
Well, good. I have a bunch more questions. Maybe the next one will just be kind of a wrap up of a bunch of different things. But for now, what do you think of the pistachio?
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Gelato.
I like it. It's gelato. Pistachio gelato.
It's very green.
Yeah. It's very green. It's kind of... It seems more creamy. It's got a little bit of gelato sense to it, but I'd say I'd give it maybe a 7.
Maybe just because of the flavor?
Yeah.
Maybe a different flavor of gelato you would have liked better?
Yeah. It's a little bit different gelato than I'm used to, and then a different flavor of pistachio, too. It's a little bit... It's kind of too rich for me in a sense.
Oh, okay.
More rich than what I would...
Well, I'm curious what you're going to think of the frozen yogurt. I just thought, just for throwing in a wild card, let's get some diversity here. So we had 2 ice creams, a gelato. We'll try frozen yogurt.
Got that to
See
look
what you think of
forward
that.
to.
That's
okay,
right.
That'd be great.
Coming up on a future Flavor of the Week with Monsignor Bob Schulte.